Hey everybody, welcome to Dad's Den of Pop Culture. It is Alpha Flight Monday. We are up to issue number 8, Betrayal. Hope February has been going well for you, the month of the love. May we? So, what are we dealing with here? Last issue, we had an issue that, forgot to turn my extra light on here. Voila. We had an issue that dealt with Aurora and Northstar. They were visiting an old friend of Northstar's. In fact, a man with whom he had a relationship. He saw that man killed on the street by the touch of a guy known as Deadly Earnest. Ernest St. Ives, a sort of crime lord in Montreal. And St. Ives kidnapped his sister Aurora. Northstar and Aurora couldn't use their powers publicly. Those are sort of hidden things, but they were sorely tempted. We end that story with Northstar vowing to kill Deadly Earnest. Northstar is an interesting character. He is headstrong. He is very arrogant. He often seems somewhat cold, especially if it does not involve his sister or obviously his former lover. He's a character that's really easy to be annoyed with a lot. Not a team player. And in a different way than, say, like a Wolverine. But here we're going to see him spring into action and potentially kick some ass. Cold hands, cold heart. John Byrne, creator, Andy Yankus, colorist, Michael Higgins, letterer, Denny O'Neill, editor, Jim Shooter, editor-in-chief. The time for tears is past. Jean-Paul Beaubier has cried long and hard this day, for he has seen an important chapter of his life ended. He has seen an old and dear friend cut down by means as yet inexplicable. He has seen his beloved sister kidnapped as he stood by frustrated and helpless. He will be helpless no longer. So now he's in costume, he's zooming across Montreal, and he's going to kick some ass. And good for him. Perhaps there are eyes in all Montreal sharp enough to mark the passage of the super-swift mutant known as Northstar as he crosses the deepening twilight. But they would have to be keen indeed, for it is vengeance that now speeds him on his way, and he is not inclined just now to restrain his awesome power for the sake of sightseers. And now we're going to recount what has happened. His friend Raymond's daughter Danielle, Deadly Earnest. Deadly Earnest reaches out of a window, touches his face, kills him, kidnaps Aurora, and leaves the man dead in the streets, with Northstar swearing revenge. And a few long hours later, Miss Belmont, Mr. Beaubier, I'm sorry, miss, but I can cast no real light on what happened to your father. This is translated from the French. You have performed the autopsy, doctor. I did. And if I had to list the cause of death, I'd almost be inclined to say I killed him, considering his age. Considering his age and general health, there was absolutely nothing wrong with Mr. Belmont before the post-mortem. But that cannot be. He was dead. He was dead when I reached him. Easy, Danielle. Doctor, please explain. I wish I could, Mr. Beaubier, but this is quite beyond my experience. It is as if Mr. Belmont simply stopped, like a light being switched off. You're saying you cannot prove he was murdered. That is exactly what he is saying. But do not worry, Danielle. It will not end here. So that was obviously hours later, the autopsy. Now he's streaking across Montreal. Thus, after obtaining the public address of Ernest St. Ives, he lives well on his ill-gotten gains, this Deadly Earnest. Enjoy it while you can, my friend. Your days are numbered. Bam! He crashes through. No alarms, and from the look of this room, I might assume this floor isn't used overmuch. St. Ives must prefer smaller quarters. There is a strange smell to this place, musty, old, like ancient death. How would Jean-Marie react if she were brought here? With her split personality at times of stress, she sometimes regresses, retreating into her dowdy schoolmistress personae, I pray that has not happened this time. Northstar may have need of Aurora if Mr. St. Ives is to get his comeuppance. There is sound beyond this door. Perhaps this is... He's shocked. So's that kid. Shocked by magic glow racers from Ravel, that is. You won't believe what little Billy Miller saw in the dark. Well, that's a little bit... Okay. We'll leave that one behind. We're getting a new character here, boys and girls. But as Northstar makes a startling discovery, we must for a brief moment look back to the center of Montreal, specifically to the rooftop of the Queen Elizabeth Hotel, where one guest is engaged in activities not usually connected with the hotel. Sanctify my blade, O Mother Night, that I may seek out evil in your dark places. Grant to me the strength and wisdom necessary to my calling. Guide my hand and eye, that retribution may prevail. Count upon your fingers the precious minutes of your life, Ernest St. Ives. Your reign of death and terror is over. So speaks Nemesis. That's a pretty badass character design. The sword, I remember how the sword works. They might explain it here later, so I won't say it now. Cool character. So what shocked Northstar? Well, it's Aurora sitting on Ernest St. Ives' desk as though there's nothing going on. Nothing wrong. And at just that moment, what in the world? Oh, Jacques, you have found me. Jacques? What? Ooh. And he gets hit from behind. Chérie, you know this brash intruder? Of course. He is my cousin, Jacques, and your thugs have nearly killed him. 1,000 apologies, my dear, but I pay my men a quite substantial stipend to protect my existence, and they are disinclined to take the time to investigate the family tree of potential attackers. He is your cousin, you say. The physical resemblance is quite remarkable. Yes, our mothers were identical twins. Where are your men taking him? Do not distress yourself. He will be put somewhere safe until he recovers. For now, however, we have further business to discuss, you and I. Of course. So if you were here for last issue, he believes that this is Danielle, Raymond's daughter. And he was doing the killing and all the thuggery and such to get control of Raymond's bistro. So he's now trying to negotiate that with her, not knowing who she actually is. And so they leave him in this bed to sleep, and as he wakes, a word of caution, monsieur. Do not move, or you may lose more blood than you can afford. Wall? Who could that be? Maybe it's the character with the sword we saw fight me. Yes, it is. You have me at a clear disadvantage, mamselle. Who are you? How did you get in here? I think the questions are mine, don't you? Who are you? Do you work for St. Ives? I most certainly do not. So, quickly, simply, Northstar tells his story to the woman in blood and ebony. I love it. Blood and ebony. And Alpha Flight? Yes, I have heard of them. They were, in part, my inspiration. Very well, Northstar. I believe you. Oh, I believe you. You may assist me in my mission of retribution. Assist? Wait, I will come with you. But, as I feared, the windows are barred and this door is locked. No matter. Uses her sword. My sword is scarcely an atom's width thick. It can slice through almost anything by cleaving between the molecules. Pretty slick. I am impressed. Had thought such things still in the province of science fiction. Much like mutant superpowers, or superheroes, or men who kill with a touch. Touché, mamselle. Lead on. All right, nice little team up between these two characters. And Nemesis is very cool. Not far away. You have certainly done well for yourself, my dear Ernest, but you have not told me the secret of your touch of death. And I promised that I would when business was completed. So here we're going to get the origin of Deadly Ernest. And it goes back to the First World War. He is in a trench. He is obviously going to die. As he says, die like a dog in wet, foul darkness. That ain't wet, foul darkness. Look at that. Spaceship you can crawl into. Gee whiz. Kid's lucky. And so death appears to him. And somehow he rejects her touch. and sort of fights Death off. Or maybe Death was just using him. And he's suddenly alone. Death was gone. The gas was gone. His wounds, his pain, gone. He had done what no mortal had ever done. He had fought Death, and he had vanquished her. Mon ami, are you all right? Let me help you. So a friend of his or another comrade sees him and reaches his hand down to help him out of the trench and dies at Earnest's touch. Incredible. And he tells the tale with enough conviction to make me think he believes it himself. The First World War was a long time ago, indeed, but the many long years since have only made me stronger. In fact, I sometimes feel now that I shall never die. Indeed, monsieur. Would you care to put that to the test? What guards? Your guards are indisposed, Ernest St. Ives. You must face me now, alone. Indisposed? She has a curious way of describing the path of carnage she has carved through this house. Don't get to see the carnage because it's old comics. You have had a good long run, St. Ives, far longer than you deserved. But the time has come for you to face the blade of retribution. Only your death will bring peace to my soul and the soul of my father. Father? Northstar, you have recovered and found reinforcements. There is no longer any need for me to pretend to be other than what I am. What in the name of? Perfect. You have distracted the woman? Northstar, who is this woman? Distracted him long enough for Nemesis to... No! You are quick, chérie, but Earnest is quicker. I have had many long years to hone my skills. You, alas, will not have that privilege. So he reaches his hand out. Now you can learn firsthand why I am called Deadly Earnest. But not this time, St. Ives. You cannot steal the life of one who has no life to take. Now it is St. Ives' turn to feel his stomach churn, for his grip of death has never failed before, and this failure carries a terrible price. That is a sword. That is an arm that is no longer attached to that man. And we have a computer thing. Oh, what's that? Commodore VIC-20. Nice. Commodore 64. Cool. Danielle! No! Danielle? But then, before the lightning-fast Northstar has even crossed the room, the silver blade glimmers ghost-like invisible when seen on edge, a shining white scythe flat on, and in less than a second it is all over. And she slices Earnest up real good. Danielle, what have you done? I have brought retribution. I am not Danielle. I am Nemesis. Nemesis! She has gone mad. The grief over her father's death, the trauma of committing murder. I must bring her to her senses. So it's interesting. Northstar sets off, I'm going to kill this guy. And he watches the guy killed pretty horribly. And now he's like, you can't kill somebody. Which tells you, yeah, there was rage there, but he's still got sort of that heroic not killing thing going. So the black and red mask is not secured. It comes off easily. And Jean-Paul Bobier feels the world turn suddenly inside out, for the face beneath the mask is not that of Danielle Belmont. It is the face of one who carries upon her shoulders the anguish of the world, and the terrible, lifeless eyes burn into his very soul. The woman called Nemesis is not one to miss an opportunity. A quick twist frees her of Northstar's suddenly weakened grip, and the flat of her sword sends him sprawling, clunks him on the head. And what of you, Aurora? Is it also your intent to try to stay me from my holy cause? No, chérie. It has always been my habit to leave holy causes to those better suited to deal with them. However, the police may think otherwise. I suggest you depart before I summon them. Minutes later. I do not like this, sister. We should have waited for the police to arrive. No one in that house was going anywhere, brother. They will be there for the police to collect them. Remaining would only have jeopardized our secret identities. It is all well and good not wearing masks, long as we don't let anyone get too close a look at us. A little bit of explanation there for why they don't have masks. In any case, we had to leave to attend to other matters. Within seconds, Jean-Marie, you escaped St. Ives. Oh, I did not have to escape, Danielle. Ernest thought I was you. and he would not have harmed his partner. His partner? What? Your surprise is predictable, brother, but please spare us the performance, Danielle. It struck me as odd that you returned to your father just when St. Ives started pressuring him to sell his restaurant. By simply going along with his mistaken assumption as to my identity, I discovered your deal with Earnest. All right, you found me out. You won't take me to the cops. Earnest will hide me, help me get away. Earnest is dead, chérie, and if this country had a nice, civilized death penalty, you would join him. As it is, you will be put away until your hair turns a more natural color. Say, gray? Man. So first of all, Aurora is pro-death penalty. We now know that. Second of all, trips the woman and insults her hair color. That's big time. That's big time. An hour or so later, and that, as they say, is the story, Inspector. Incredible. Raymond was so thrilled when Danielle came home to him, to think she could betray him like that. And later still. So, St. Ives had never actually met Danielle face to face. No, other plotting and planning had been done from public phone booths or with go-betweens. What still confuses me is how you could have thought Nemesis was Danielle when you knew Ernest thought I was Danielle, and he hadn't harmed me. Well, frankly, dear sister, given the strange tastes of your Aurora personae, I had assumed you romanced yourself to safety. What? You mean you thought with Ernest St. Ives? Why not? After your fling with Sasquatch, I'm prepared to believe you capable of anything. I don't believe it. You dare. You of all people dare pass judgment on my love life? You arrogant, insolent son of a... Do not follow me, Jean-Paul. Our partnership is ended. If I never see you again, it will be too soon. Aurora! Don't leave me. I'll be all alone. Wow. That's interesting. And that's going to be a theme of these two as we go through. It's a rocky relationship, to say the least. Continuing the origins of Alpha Flight, Genesis. A rugged backwoods trail. It's not going to stay where I want it to stay. In Banff National Park, Canada. There it is. Hello, the house. Okay. That's a phrase I never heard before. Dr. Two Youngmen, are you there? Hello. I'm here. Who in the world? It can't be. But it is. Heather McNeil. Why, I scarcely recognize you now that you're all grown. I'm so glad we found you, Doctor. But it's not McNeil anymore. I want you to meet my husband, James Hudson. Please call me Michael, not Doctor. A great pleasure to meet you, James. And an honor to meet you, sir. I could hardly believe it when Heather casually mentioned she knew you. Michael? Who? Who are these people, Michael? I have not seen them before. That is wonderfully 80s. Nice work there. That's right, Narya. You haven't. This is an old friend of my family and her husband, Heather and James Hudson. Pleased to meet you, Miss Narya, was it? Yes, Narya is the name Michael gave me. But why do I sense that you will call me something else? So, James and Heather are recently married. They go to visit Michael Two Youngmen, who, if you remember past issues, she used to babysit his daughter, very close to the family. Now, he's obviously been gone for quite a long time. She's come to renew acquaintances with him. And so while they're in bed that night, she happens to see somebody coming out of the cabin. Looks like they're staying, I don't know if it's a tent or if it's in that vehicle. And so what does she see? She sees Narya, and she's stark naked, walking out into the wilderness. So she pursues the young woman. She's not noticed me yet. Why do I keep thinking it's because I'm downwind? I don't know. Maybe because you've been friends with Wolverine? And that's kind of how he thinks. Whoops. Then, as the mystery girl reaches open ground, suddenly her lithe form flows like smoke on the wind. Muscles ripple and change, bones distort, and Heather Hudson feels the solid earth tilt beneath her feet. For several seconds, the transformed Narya circles the small clearing until... And what happens next sends Heather scrambling through the tangled woods back towards the cabin, praying she will find herself still safely asleep in her husband's arms. So she sees Narya turn into an owl and go hunting for a rodent. Next morning, there would seem no purpose in trying to hide the truth. You would learn it for yourselves sooner or later, in any case. Michael, are you saying what Heather saw last night was real? Narya is some kind of... She is a metamorph, a shape-changer. She has chosen the Arctic owl as her avatar, but all the beasts to the north are hers. That's incredible. Who is she, Michael? How did you find her? Phone book. Quickly, succinctly, tells the story, and we witnessed that story last issue, as we saw her father, who was an archaeologist, join with her mother, who is a goddess, and then her goddess mother appears to shaman to give birth. Obviously, she does give birth. The goddess then departs back into her reality, leaving the child, who at that point was already 1 year old, with Michael to Youngman. So presumably she has grown at an accelerated rate. Then you're saying she's some kind of half-breed goddess? And you're a magician, a sorcerer? Those are the white man's words, yes. I do not feel the world is yet ready to learn her secret, however. I hope I can trust you to be discreet. I'll be more than that, Doctor. You see, I work for a government office called Department H, and I think I have a proposition for you, one I hope you'll find to your liking. Thus Narya's mystic precognition is fulfilled, as both she and Michael to Youngman become known to the nation and the world by different names, Snowbird and Shaman of Alpha Flight. This makes me think of the old Reagan line about the scariest words you'll ever hear? I'm from the government, and I'm here to help. Which is somewhat true with what happens with Alpha Flight. Great little Christmas holiday gift coupon thing here, which is interesting. This is a March 84 issue, and obviously publishing date is often different. Would it be that far off? 3 months off? Maybe. Any rate, I like that. You got Medusa, Black Bolt, and oh crap, I can't think of the dog's name. Well, he's not really a dog. Whatever, I'm old. Masters of the Universe video game and Frogger. You see a lot of video game ads coming in this era. So, Alpha Flight, Betrayal. And as any good comic cover should do, not really Betrayal, but that's what gets you to open the book and read. It's not the greatest cover in the world, to be quite honest. It's not bad, but I don't know, this big sort of just single color area just kind of really interrupts it. It gets in the way. We have the glove of Ernest St. Ives, Aurora and Northstar. So not a bad issue. It rounds out that story of Ernest St. Ives as he is sliced apart by Nemesis, and having been so sliced, obviously we will never see Ernest St. Ives again, I am sure. That is the end, because you know in comic books, if a character dies, that's it. They ain't coming back. I mean, that is like, that's 100%. But it's also 2 good issues of Northstar and Aurora, of their relationship, and we see it gets very rocky at the end. We learn more about Northstar. We also learn Aurora, pro-death penalty, and apparently not real big on her brother's lifestyle. At least from... If she's aware... Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, is she aware of that? Because it's something that he's kept hidden from the public. Maybe he's kept it hidden from her. He has. That was the first thing I thought, but now it's occurring to me. I think that she thinks of him as being sort of a playboy with the ladies. And that's what she's not real happy about. Well, at a minimum, she's not happy about him criticizing her relationship with Walter Lankowski, the Sasquatch. But it's a good character developing couple of issues. You get an interesting story. We get a new hero, or at least sort of hero, in Nemesis. We get a new villain in Deadly Earnest. We learn more about the history of Shaman and Snowbird and how they're linked and why Snowbird is with us, which will obviously be a big deal as we move forward. Next week, speaking of Sasquatch, we're going to be getting a closer look at that character. Here he is, holding a person who is potentially dead. And we see an arm. And by golly, if that doesn't look like it belongs to the ever-loving, blue-eyed Thing. Man, do we got Thing versus Sasquatch? Speaking of monster comics in Marvel, maybe we do. We'll have to tune in, or you'll have to tune in next week to find out. Hey, what do you think of these last couple issues? Any thoughts on Northstar and Aurora, and the story behind them and all that? Pretty cool stuff. Definitely a little more grown up, but we're not talking about like gore or very explicit sex scenes or stuff that you kind of associated with the later, more mature comics. But it is hitting some more mature themes, but still in the context of this is being written by relatively young people, and they clearly felt that they didn't want to go too far with that at that time. But hey, for those of us who are in the know, I think some really good character development there and some very interesting characters. So next week we will look at Alpha Flight number 9 with Sasquatch, with the Thing, maybe so. In the meantime, God bless everybody. Please be kind to one another and try to have some fun. And I will see you next time in Dad's Den of Pop Culture.